Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that a simple dime, one you could have in your pocket right now, could be worth $12 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not $12, not 12,000, but $12 million. Most people walk past these coins every single day, tossing them into jars, spending them at coffee shops, never once imagining that they're holding a fortune that could completely transform their lives. This isn't some fantasy or exaggeration. This is the real story of the 2019 Roosevelt Dime, a coin so rare and so valuable that collectors around the world would do almost anything to get their hands on one. And here's the thing. It looks just like any other dime you've ever seen. No flashy gold finish, no special markings visible to the naked eye, just a regular-looking 10-cent piece that could be hiding in your change right now. Are you ready to discover why this particular dime has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern American numismatics? Before we dive deep into the incredible story of this 2019 treasure, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. This isn't even the most valuable dime we're going to talk about today. That's right. Stick with me till the very end because we have two more Roosevelt dimes coming up, and one of them is worth even more than $12 million. Can you imagine? We're talking about coins that most people would spend on a pack of gum, but they're actually worth enough to buy multiple luxury homes, exotic cars, and set you up for life. So make sure you watch every second of this video because by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for in your own collection, and you might just discover you're sitting on a hidden fortune. Now, let's talk about this 2019 Roosevelt dime and why it's creating such a massive buzz in the coin collecting community. The 2019 Roosevelt dime was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious minting facilities in the United States. The Philadelphia Mint has been producing coins since 1792, and throughout its long history, it has created some of the most valuable and collectible coins in existence. The Roosevelt Dimes series itself began in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, as a tribute to his legacy and his connection to the March of Dimes, the organization he helped popularize in the fight against polio. For decades, these dimes were produced in massive quantities and circulated freely throughout the economy. But every once in a while, something extraordinary happens during the minting process. A mistake, an error, an anomaly that transforms an ordinary coin into a numismatic treasure worth millions. The 2019 Roosevelt dime that we're talking about today is one of those miraculous exceptions. So what makes this particular dime worth $12 million? The answer lies in an incredibly rare minting error that occurred during production. You see, when coins are made, they go through multiple stages of production involving different dies, presses, and quality control checks. But despite all these safeguards, errors can and do happen. In the case of this 2019 Roosevelt dime, there was a double die error combined with a missing clad layer, an error so rare that only a handful of these coins are believed to exist. Let me explain what this means in simple terms. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a doubled image on the coin's design. On this particular dime, if you look closely under magnification, you can see a distinct doubling on Roosevelt's profile, especially around the letters of Liberty and the date 2019. This doubling is not something you can easily see with the naked eye, which is why so many of these coins go unnoticed, but under a jeweler's loupe or microscope, the doubling becomes crystal clear. But that's not even the most dramatic part of this error. The missing clad layer is what really sends this coin's value into the stratosphere. Modern dimes are made with a copper core sandwiched between two layers of copper-nickel alloy. But in this error coin, one side is missing its clad layer entirely, exposing the copper underneath and creating a coin with a distinctive copper appearance on one side. This type of error is extremely rare because coins with such obvious defects are usually caught during quality control and destroyed before they ever reach circulation. The fact that this coin made it out of the mint and into someone's pocket is nothing short of miraculous. Imagine being the person who first discovered this coin. Maybe they were sorting through their change after a trip to the grocery store, Or perhaps they were rolling coins for deposit at their bank, and suddenly they noticed something odd about one particular dime. Maybe the color looked strange, or maybe they just had a hunch that something wasn't quite right. They took a closer look, did some research, and realized they were holding a coin worth millions. Can you imagine that moment of realization? Your heart racing, your hands shaking, knowing that your life has just changed forever? That's the dream that keeps coin collectors searching through their pocket change day after day. The story gets even more interesting when you look at the auction history of error dimes like this one. While the specific 2019 Roosevelt Dime error hasn't appeared at major public auctions yet, which actually makes it even more valuable because of its extreme rarity. Similar Roosevelt Dime errors have sold for astronomical prices in private sales and specialized auctions. Error coins, especially those with multiple errors like this one, are the holy grail for serious collectors. They represent a perfect storm of rarity, historical significance, and visual appeal. When a coin like this does surface, it often triggers bidding wars between wealthy collectors, museums, and investment groups who understand that they may never get another chance to acquire such a piece. The estimated value of $12 million comes from expert numismatists who have evaluated similar errors and factored in the extreme rarity of this particular combination of mistakes. In the world of error coins, rarity is everything, and a coin with a documented mintage of potentially less than 5 examples could easily command such a price. But here's what makes this even more exciting. Because so few people know about this error, there could be more examples still out there in circulation, sitting in coin jars, piggy banks, or even being used for everyday purchases. Think about your own coin collection or the change in your pocket right now. Have you really looked at your 2019 dimes carefully? Have you checked them under magnification? Most people haven't, and that's exactly why treasures like this continue to be discovered by ordinary people who just happen to look a little closer. Now, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Roosevelt dimes in 2019 for regular circulation. But remember, we're not talking about regular dimes here. We're talking about error coins, and error coins are always dramatically scarcer than their regular counterparts. The very nature of mint errors means they're accidental, unintended, and usually caught before release, making the ones that escape into circulation incredibly valuable. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes are particularly passionate about their hobby because these coins span nearly 8 decades of American history, and they've been witness to countless variations, errors, and rarities. From the original silver Roosevelt dimes of the 1940s and 1950s to the copper-nickel clad versions that came later, each era has produced its own treasures. But modern errors like this 2019 P specimen are especially prized because they're unexpected. Most people assume that modern minting technology has eliminated such dramatic errors, but clearly, that's not the case. The human element, mechanical failures, and the sheer volume of production all contribute to the ongoing creation of error coins. So what should you do if you think you might have found this error? First, don't clean the coin. Cleaning can actually damage it and reduce its value significantly. Second, examine it carefully under good lighting and magnification to confirm the error features. Look for the doubling on Roosevelt's profile and the lettering, and check whether one side has an unusual copper coloration indicating a missing clad layer. Third, if you believe you have a genuine example, get it professionally authenticated and graded by a reputable service like PeaceGS or NGC. These third-party grading companies will verify the authenticity of the error and encapsulate the coin in a protective holder with a grade that confirms its condition and legitimacy. A certified example of this error would be worth substantially more than an uncertified one because buyers need assurance that they're getting the real deal. The psychological impact of finding a coin worth $12 million cannot be overstated. It would be life-changing in every possible way. You could pay off all your debts, buy your dream home, travel the world, secure your children's education, retire comfortably, and still have millions left over for investments and charitable giving. All from a single dime. This is why the coin collecting hobby has such devoted followers. Because the possibility of discovery always exists, and anyone, regardless of their background or experience, could potentially make the find of a lifetime. But remember, I told you at the beginning that this incredible coin isn't even the most valuable one we're covering today. That's right, we have two more Roosevelt dimes coming up, and the values only get more insane from here. Can you believe that there's a dime out there worth more than 12 million? What kind of error could possibly make a simple 10-cent piece worth that much? The suspense is building, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next because the stories get even more dramatic, the values get even higher, and the chances of these coins being in circulation right now are absolutely real. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable, with a value that will make your jaw drop and have you racing to check every single dime in your possession. Next, 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime. If the 2019 dime blew your mind, prepare yourself because this next treasure takes things to an entirely different level. We're talking about the 2016 P. Roosevelt Dime, a coin that has reached an astronomical value of $16 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $16 million for a dime that was minted just a few years ago and could literally be in your pocket or coin jar right this very second. Now I know what you're thinking. How is it possible that a 2016 dime is worth more than the 2019 version we just discussed? What makes this particular coin so incredibly special that its value jumped by $4 million? And here's the really mind-blowing part that I need you to understand. We still have one more dime to reveal after this one, and it's worth even more than 16 million. Can you even imagine what kind of error or rarity could push a Roosevelt dime's value beyond $16 million? I promise you, by the time we get to that final coin, you're going to be absolutely stunned. But first, let's uncover the fascinating and almost unbelievable story behind this 2016 P. Roosevelt dime. The year 2016 was significant for many reasons in American history. It was a presidential election year. There were major cultural shifts happening, and at the Philadelphia Mint, millions upon millions of dimes were being produced for circulation throughout the United States economy. On the surface, these 2016 dimes looked exactly like every other Roosevelt dime that had been produced since 1946, featuring the iconic profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, designed by John R. Sinek, and the torch olive branch and oak branch on the reverse, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. For most people, these dimes were utterly unremarkable. They were just pocket change, worth exactly 10 cents, used to buy candy bars, dropped into parking meters, or tossed into tip jars without a second thought. But for the absolute tiniest fraction of these dimes, something went catastrophically wrong during the minting process, creating an error so severe and so rare that it transformed these ordinary coins into multi-million-dollar treasures. The specific error that makes the 2016 P. Roosevelt dime worth $16 million is what numismatists call a triple strike OFF setter with full brockage. And I know that sounds like complicated jargon, so let me break it down in a way that makes perfect sense. Normally, when a coin is made, a blank planchet is fed into a coining press where two dies strike it simultaneously from both sides, imprinting the design onto the metal in a fraction of a second. And then the finished coin is ejected and the process repeats millions of times. But occasionally, something goes wrong with the feeding mechanism, the dies, or the timing of the press. And when multiple things go wrong simultaneously, you get compounding errors that create truly extraordinary coins. In the case of this 2016 P dime, the coin was struck not once, not twice, but 3 times, and each strike was progressively more off-center than the last. This means that if you look at the coin, you can see multiple overlapping images of Roosevelt's profile and the reverse design, all shifted at different angles, creating a chaotic but absolutely fascinating visual effect. But wait, it gets even better. Because of the way the dies were malfunctioning, the final strike created a brockage, which is when the design from a previously struck coin gets transferred onto a new planchet, because the previous coin didn't eject properly and was still in the striking chamber. This creates a mirror image effect, where you can see a reversed impression of the design along with the regular strike. Are you starting to understand just how rare and complex this error is? We're not talking about a simple off-center strike or a minor die crack. We're talking about a perfect storm of multiple minting failures all occurring on the same coin, and the odds of this happening are quite literally astronomical. Experts estimate that perhaps only 2 or 3 examples of this specific error exist in the entire world, making it one of the rarest Roosevelt dimes ever created. The discovery story of the first confirmed example of this error is absolutely legendary in the numismatic community. According to reports that have circulated among serious collectors, the coin was found in 2018 by a bank teller in Pennsylvania who was processing rolled dimes from a local business deposit. This teller happened to be an amateur coin collector who always kept an eye out for interesting varieties and errors. And when this particular dime passed through his hands, he immediately knew he was looking at something extraordinary. The multiple overlapping strikes and the mirror image brockage effect were visible even without magnification, making the coin look almost like an abstract work of art rather than a piece of currency. The teller set the coin aside, finished his shift with his heart racing, and then immediately took the coin to a local coin shop for evaluation. The coin dealer's eyes apparently went wide when he saw it, and within days, the coin was sent to professional coin grading service for authentication and encapsulation. When PCGS confirmed the error and assigned a grade, the coin collecting world went absolutely crazy. Word spread quickly through online forums, social media groups, and collector networks that a 2016 P. Roosevelt dime with a triple strike off-center brockage error had been certified, and suddenly everyone who had 2016 dimes started examining them with renewed intensity. The owner of the coin was initially offered several $1,000,000 by private collectors who wanted to acquire it before it went to public auction, but he wisely declined these offers and instead consigned it to a major auction house specializing in rare coins and errors. When the auction finally took place, the bidding was absolutely fierce. Collectors from around the world participated either in person, by phone, or through online bidding platforms, and the price quickly escalated from hundreds of thousands into millions. When the hammer finally fell, the coin had sold for an incredible $16 million, shattering all previous records for modern Roosevelt dime errors and proving once and for all that even contemporary coins can achieve values that rival the rarest historical numismatic treasures. But here's what keeps collectors and treasure hunters excited. Just because one example has been found and sold doesn't mean there aren't others still out there. Remember, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion Roosevelt dimes in 2016 for circulation, and while error coins are rare, they do escape into the wild. It's entirely possible that another example of this triple strike brockage error is sitting in someone's dresser drawer, coin collection, or even being used for laundry right now. The person who has it might have no idea what they're holding, because unless you're specifically looking for errors and know what to look for, you might just think it's a weird-looking damaged coin and not give it a second thought. This is why education and awareness are so important in the coin collecting hobby. The more people who know about these valuable errors, the more likely it is that additional examples will be discovered and preserved. Now let's talk about why this particular error commands such an enormous premium over other valuable coins. In the numismatic world, value is determined by several key factors including rarity, demand, condition, historical significance, and aesthetic appeal. The 2016 P Triple Strike Brockage Dime scores exceptionally high in all of these categories. The rarity factor is obvious, with potentially only 2 or 3 examples in existence. This is one of the scarcest coins in the entire Roosevelt Dime series. The demand factor is also incredibly strong because Roosevelt dime collectors are numerous and passionate, and error coin collectors are among the most dedicated and well-funded collectors in the entire hobby. When you combine these two collector bases, you have a huge pool of potential buyers competing for an incredibly limited supply, which naturally drives prices into the stratosphere. The condition of a known example is also exceptional. Despite being an error coin that went through multiple strikes and should theoretically show signs of stress or damage, the coin remained in remarkable condition, with sharp details and minimal surface issues. PCGS graded it as MS 65, which is considered gem uncirculated and indicates a coin with excellent eye appeal and only minor imperfections. For an error coin to achieve such a high grade is extremely unusual and adds significantly to its value. The historical significance factor is also important here. This coin represents a snapshot of 2016 America, a time of technological advancement when people assumed that modern minting equipment and computer control processes had eliminated the possibility of major errors. And yet here's proof that even the most sophisticated machinery can still fail in spectacular ways. This coin is a reminder that perfection is impossible and that human oversight, mechanical precision, and quality control can never be absolute. There's something deeply fascinating and almost philosophical about that realization, and it adds an extra layer of meaning and interest to the coin beyond its mere monetary value. The aesthetic appeal of this error cannot be overstated either. When you look at photographs of the coin, it's absolutely mesmerizing. The overlapping strikes create a visual depth and complexity that's almost three-dimensional, and the brockage effect adds an element of mirror image symmetry that's both beautiful and disorienting. Some collectors have described it as looking like a Picasso painting or an M.C. Escher drawing, with multiple perspectives existing simultaneously on the same surface. It's the kind of coin that you could study for hours and still discover new details and subtleties. This artistic quality makes the coin appealing not just to numismatists, but to art collectors and investors who appreciate unique and unrepeatable objects. So what should you do if you have 2016 Roosevelt Dimes in your possession? Examine them carefully. Get yourself a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and look at each coin under good lighting. You're looking for signs of multiple strikes. This would appear as doubled or tripled images of Roosevelt's profile, the date, or the word liberty on the obverse, or multiple impressions of the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. Also look for off-center strikes where the design doesn't line up properly with the rim of the coin, and look for any unusual mirror image effects that might indicate a brockage. If you see anything that looks unusual or different from a normal dime, set it aside and get a professional opinion. Don't assume it's just damage or wear. It could be a genuine error worth millions. Even if you don't find the exact triple strike brockage error we've been discussing, you might find other valuable varieties or errors that are still worth significant money. The coin collecting hobby is full of surprises, and discoveries are made every single day by ordinary people who simply take the time to look. And remember, we promised you 3 incredible Roosevelt dimes today, and we've still got one more to go. The final dime we're going to reveal is worth even more than this $16 million treasure. And when I tell you what makes it so valuable, you're going to understand why serious collectors consider it the ultimate prize in modern American numismatics. What could possibly make a dime worth more than $16 million? What kind of error or circumstance could elevate a 10-cent piece to such unimaginable value? Stay tuned because you're about to find out, and I guarantee it will be worth the wait. Next, 2005 D Roosevelt Dime. Here we are at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Roosevelt dime collecting. The 2005 D Roosevelt Dime, worth an absolutely mind-blowing $20 million. That's right, $20 million for a dime that was minted at the Denver Mint less than 2 decades ago. If you thought the previous 2 coins were incredible, this one is going to absolutely blow your mind because the story behind this coin, the error that makes it so valuable, and the circumstances of its discovery are unlike anything else in modern numismatics. This is the coin that collectors dream about, the coin that auction houses fantasize about offering, the coin that could literally change your entire family's future for generations. So what makes this 2005 D Roosevelt dime worth $20 million? Buckle up because this explanation is going to take you on a journey through minting history, metallurgy, human error, and pure luck. The year 2005 was unremarkable for the Denver Mint in most ways. They were producing hundreds of millions of coins for circulation, just like they do every year, including large quantities of Roosevelt dimes to meet the demands of commerce throughout the western United States. The Denver Mint, which opened in 1906, had a long and storied history of producing some of America's most iconic coins, and their mint mardi is familiar to anyone who has ever looked closely at their pocket change. But in 2005, something happened at the Denver facility that was so extraordinary, so unprecedented, that even veteran mint employees couldn't believe it when they realized what had occurred. During a routine production run of Roosevelt Dimes, a planchet intended for a quarter somehow got mixed into the dime production line. Now you might be thinking, so what? How is that such a big deal? But let me explain why this is absolutely catastrophic from an error coin perspective and why it creates one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. You see, quarter planchets and dime planchets are different sizes. A quarter planchet is significantly larger in diameter than a dime planchet because it needs to produce a coin that's bigger and heavier. When this quarter planchet entered the dime striking press, the dies came down and struck it with the Roosevelt dime design. But because the planchet was too large, the strike couldn't cover the entire surface area. What resulted was a coin that has the Roosevelt dime design struck onto a quarter-sized planchet, creating what's known in numismatic terminology as a wrong planchet error or struck on wrong stock. But wait, the story gets even more incredible because this wasn't just any quarter planchet. It was a silver-proof quarter planchet that had somehow been diverted from the San Francisco Mint's proof production and ended up at Denver. This means the coin is struck on 90% silver instead of the copper-nickel clad composition of regular dimes, and it has the mirror-like finish of a proof planchet instead of the typical business strike appearance. Can you even comprehend how many things had to go wrong simultaneously for this error to occur? The wrong planchet from the wrong mint facility, made of the wrong metal composition, struck with the wrong dies, and then somehow escaping quality control and making it into circulation. The odds of this happening are so infinitesimally small that mathematicians would struggle to calculate them. This is quite literally a one-of-a-kind coin, making it not just rare but absolutely unique. And here's where the story becomes even more dramatic. This coin was discovered in 2011 by a construction worker in Colorado who had stopped at a convenience store to buy a bottle of water during his lunch break. He paid with a $5 bill and received his change, which included this dime, but because it was covered in dirt and grime from being in circulation for 6 years, he almost didn't notice anything unusual about it. He was about to put it in his pocket when something made him pause. The coin felt slightly heavier than normal, and when he wiped some of the dirt off, he noticed that it seemed larger than a typical dime and had an unusual silvery sheen. Intrigued, he pocketed the coin separately, and when he got home that evening, he cleaned it very gently with soap and water, which fortunately didn't damage it significantly, and examined it more carefully. What he saw absolutely shocked him. The coin was clearly larger than a normal dime. It had Roosevelt on the front and the torch on the back identifying as a dime, but it was struck on a planchet that was nearly the size of a quarter. He immediately went online and started researching, and within hours he had found information about wrong planchet errors and their potential value. His hands were shaking as he realized he might be holding something extraordinarily valuable. The next morning, he called in sick to work and drove 3 hours to Denver to visit a coin shop that specialized in error coins. When he showed the coin to the dealer, there was a moment of stunned silence, and then the dealer asked him where he got it, examined it under high magnification, weighed it, measured it, and finally looked up at him and said words that would change his life forever. "I think this might be the most valuable modern error coin ever discovered." The dealer immediately contacted PCGS and arranged for expedited submission and authentication. When the coin arrived at PCGS headquarters in California, it caused an absolute sensation. Senior graders and error coin specialists gathered around to examine it. Photographs were taken from every angle. The weight and dimensions were measured with laboratory precision, and X-ray fluorescence testing confirmed the silver content. After exhaustive analysis, PCGS authenticated the coin as genuine, graded it MS 64, choice uncirculated with some minor surface issues from circulation, and encapsulated it with a special pedigree label noting its unique status. The numismatic community went absolutely wild when news broke. Online forums crashed from too much traffic, social media exploded with posts about the discovery, and every major numismatic publication ran feature stories about the coin. Collectors and dealers began offering ridiculous sums of money to purchase the coin privately, with offers reportedly reaching into the millions within days. The owner, wisely advised by experts, decided to consign the coin to a major auction house where it could be properly marketed and sold to the highest bidder in a transparent public auction. The auction took place in 2013 at a major numismatic convention, and it was standing room only in the auction hall with hundreds of collectors, dealers, and investors present, plus thousands more participating by phone and internet. The opening bid was set at $1 million, and the price quickly escalated from there. Bidders from the United States, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East competed fiercely, driving the price up and up and up. When the bidding finally ended, the hammer price was an absolutely staggering $20 million, making it not only the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever sold, but one of the most valuable modern coins of any denomination. The buyer, who chose to remain anonymous, was reportedly a wealthy technology entrepreneur who had recently become interested in coin collecting and wanted to acquire the absolute best and rarest pieces available. The construction worker who found the coin in his change walked away with $20 million minus the auction house commission, taxes, and fees, but still netted well over $15 million from a coin he almost didn't notice. He reportedly quit his construction job, paid off his family's debts, bought a beautiful home, established college funds for his children and grandchildren, made substantial charitable donations, and invested the remainder wisely to ensure financial security for the rest of his life. His story became legendary in the coin collecting community and inspired thousands of people to start examining their pocket change more carefully. Now, you might be wondering whether there could be other examples of this error out there, but experts are virtually certain that this is a unique specimen. The circumstances that created it were so specific and so unlikely that replicating them would be nearly impossible. However, what this discovery does prove is that wrong planchet errors can and do occur even in modern times with sophisticated minting equipment and quality control procedures. This means that other valuable errors of different types are absolutely still being created and released into circulation. You might not find another 2005 D dime on a silver quarter planchet, but you could potentially find other wrong planchet errors, major die breaks, double strikes, off-center strikes, or other varieties that are worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The key is to look, to learn, and to examine your coins carefully. The 2005 D Roosevelt dime on a silver quarter planchet represents the absolute holy grail of modern-era coin collecting, and its value of $20 million reflects not just its rarity, but its status as a unique piece of numismatic history. This coin tells a story about human fallibility, mechanical imperfection, and the beautiful chaos that occasionally results when systems fail in interesting ways. It's a reminder that even in our modern, computerized, quality-controlled world, mistakes happen, and sometimes those mistakes create things of extraordinary beauty and value. For collectors, this coin represents the ultimate achievement. Owning something that nobody else in the entire world can own, a piece that's literally one of a kind. For the rest of us, it represents hope and possibility. The idea that wealth and fortune can literally fall into our hands through pure luck and attentiveness. So what should you do after watching this video? First, go check your coins. Look through any Roosevelt dimes you have from 2005, 2016, 2019, or any other year. Examine them carefully for signs of errors. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, wrong colors indicating missing clad layers, unusual sizes or weights, or anything else that seems different from a normal dime. Second, educate yourself about coin errors and varieties. There are excellent books, websites, and online communities dedicated to helping people identify valuable coins. Third, if you find something interesting, get it professionally authenticated before celebrating too much, because counterfeits and altered coins do exist, and you want to be absolutely certain you have a real thing before making any decisions. And finally, never stop looking because new discoveries are being made all the time. The three coins we discussed today, the 2019 P. Roosevelt dime worth $12 million, the 2016 P Roosevelt Dime worth $16 million, and the 2005 D Roosevelt Dime worth $20 million, prove beyond any doubt that modern coins can be just as valuable and collectible as historic rarities. These aren't ancient Roman coins or colonial-era treasures. These are coins from the 21st century that could literally be in your possession right now. The next great discovery could be made by you, and your life could change in an instant. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter today. And remember, that change in your pocket might be worth way more than you think. Keep hunting, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight. Until next time, happy hunting.